Your audience is everything. What I see today is a lot of people don't know their audience in detail. They have a rough idea of who they think their audience is, who they're targeting, who they're going after, perhaps. But no one has really gone in depth. Some, and usually the best people out there, have really dug deep and gone into who their audience is, what they're all about, and they know the ins and outs of their audience. And those people typically stand out among the rest. Now, I run into this issue from time to time because I like doing a lot of different things. So I like to think that my audience is, well, first and foremost myself, and maybe your audience is first and foremost yourself. Maybe you're creating for yourself. As long as you know that, as long as you can establish that, then what happens is everything you create is aligned with your audience. And that's good because that's what your audience wants. They want you to understand them. They want you to understand their wants, their needs, their desires, their problems. They want you to know that. Marketers need to really understand this. Business people need to understand this. Entrepreneurs, creatives, everyone who's giving something to someone, building something for someone, creating something for someone, they all need to understand their audience. Why? Well, this is how you make money. You can't just create a bunch of things and then expect money to come in. You need to understand your audience so that you can create things that they're willing to pay for. For instance, maybe your audience is, let's see. Your audience is moms. Okay. What are you trying to sell to them? Like, what do you think they would want? What do you think you need to build to solve their problems? Well, maybe it's children's books. Okay, what problems are your children's books solving? Well, they're entertaining the mom's child. They are helping the child learn something. They are helping the child feel more confident. That's something that a mom would want to pay for, you see. And your marketing materials should reflect, perhaps, that approach. Let's look at another example. You're a lawyer. Okay. Your audience, and because, well, being a lawyer is actually still quite general. A lawyer of what? What are you a lawyer of? You have to kind of think that through. So maybe you're a corporate lawyer. You help corporations with lawsuits, specifically intellectual property. Okay, this is good. This is good. So then maybe your audience is top musicians. Okay, these are musicians who are making millions of dollars. And you're a corporate lawyer for these musicians. And they have intellectual property issues. And they have record labels and whatnot, but maybe you're a lawyer who they need to sort through different legal things like paperwork and whatnot. Great. You know your audience. Now you can just go and target them. You can frame them a certain way. Talked about income level there, millions of dollars, musicians. Maybe you get so specific. Maybe it's pop musicians. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of people out there who might need a lawyer, and they're pop musicians, or maybe they're hip-hop musicians. You see, we're getting so specific now. And why is this? Well, because you are defining your audience, right? And look, okay, I understand if you want to be a corporate lawyer for a bunch of different audiences, but who is your main audience? Once you've defined that, you become extremely powerful in that niche. No one else can touch you, because you will become known as the corporate lawyer for pop musicians. Any pop musician who needs a lawyer will go to you. And that's quite powerful. You'll be able to charge more. You'll be able to command more. And that is sort of how you want to approach it. Maybe you're a web developer. For who? Think about it. Who are you developing websites for? Who are you developing web anything for? What is it you're developing? Who are you developing it for? Why do they care? These are all things to think about. Because, look, there are tremendous volumes of businesses out there. So when you say you are a web developer for small business, what that tells me is you're not really interested in understanding your audience. Because small business makes up like 98% of businesses. So you're telling me that your audience is what, like billions of people? I mean, it's like, because Joe Blow could be a small business. So that doesn't really narrow it down. So your efforts are going to be quite all over the place. So you have to go beyond that, okay? Small business. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Define the audience. Revenues? What is the small business making? Are they in the professional services, nonprofit industry, tech startups? Are they medical services, accountants, lawyers, dentists, doctors? Because those are all small businesses. They can be. So a web developer can be much more effective if their audience is defined as a particular group of people. Web developer for lawyers, awesome. You can make a list of all the lawyers and go after them one by one by one. And you can get really comfortable with building a website for lawyers. You know the kind of content that works. You know the kind of coding that works. You know the ins and outs of building a website for a lawyer. And you become sought after as the go-to expert developer for lawyers. That's what's going to help with word of mouth, because your audience talks amongst themselves. The lawyers get together, the dentists get together, they go to these forums and events and whatnot, and they talk to each other. Hey, I'm looking to do a new website. I'm wondering if you can tell me who you used for yours. I like your website. It's very well done. A web developer that's decided they're going to choose one audience, they typically are quite powerful in what they've delivered. And they just seem to understand what they're delivering. And I think that's what's important. Let's see if we can make this a little bit more specific or more general, I guess, for people who maybe aren't running a business, but they have like a brand. So like you're on Instagram, okay? I mean, this goes for any platform really, but let's use Instagram as an example. Who is your audience if you are like a beauty influencer? Like you have all these beauty products. Who's your audience? Is it like teenagers doing like acne creams? Who's your audience? I keep saying who's your audience, and why do I keep saying this? Why do I keep driving this home? The reason why I'm driving this home is because a lot of businesses give up because they didn't define their audience and they didn't help their audience. And then they come back wondering why their business didn't work. Their business didn't work because they weren't going after anyone specific. They literally had a general idea of who their audience was at best. A lot of people might just create content without any definition of their audience. Now, I'm guilty of defining my audience in a lot of different cases. But I'm fairly close to the mindset that everything that I create is more for myself. And that if it helps me, it'll likely help others as a result, as like a byproduct. You see, you defining your audience, you deciding who your audience is, and if it helps that audience tremendously, it will likely spread across other audiences just naturally, organically. You don't need to say, I need to go after all small businesses. I need every client imaginable. No, there's plenty of lawyers out there, plenty of doctors, plenty of accountants. There's plenty of audiences, whatever niche you choose, okay? It could be specific to grave diggers, okay? There's still a lot of grave diggers out there, okay? Choose that audience and get so good at helping them out that they will keep coming back to you. You will become the source of solutions for them. Your audience. Your audience? Yes. You really do want to define this. It is at the heart of all of business. You don't have customers? You don't have sales? Well, it's time to talk to your audience. It's time to have a discussion with them and see if who you're going after makes sense. I mean, you could get really specific, and this would be a good idea, is you write it all out. Your audience's income level, where they're hanging out, what they're buying, what they're purchasing, what their problems are, all of their problems. List all their problems. Figure out who they're related to. Figure out which websites they go on. Figure out what social media they're on. Look, if you're on Reddit and your audience is like moms in their 40s, you're on the wrong platform. No one's going to notice you on Reddit if your target audience is like moms in their 40s. I mean, there might be a group on there where you can somewhat capitalize on them, but the moms in their 40s, they're hanging out on Pinterest. That's where they are. So why wouldn't you spend your time over there? I mean, it just seems like a better use of time. This is why social media is a little bit of a challenge for people, is they want to be on all of these platforms without actually mastering one. And it would be best if they mastered an audience of, well, a platform of one where that one audience is. Once they've mastered that, then I think they'll see some success. the businesses here, all these businesses that are diluting their efforts, and it's bothering me when they come complaining about the fact that they're not bringing in results. They're not bringing in results because they're not thinking critically about what it is they're doing. And it is a challenge. It is a challenge. Don't get me wrong, okay? Focusing in on an audience is one of the biggest challenges because you have to say no. You have to say no to a bunch of other people. And you think anyone wants to do that? No. No one wants to do that. They don't want to say no. But the business will only grow if the audience is defined. So define the audience. Solve the problems of this audience within your knowledge capability. And talk to your audience. Figure them out. Get to know them. Become obsessed about them. Because that will be your livelihood, is this audience we're talking about. This is your livelihood, okay? It doesn't matter, even if you're looking for a job. Let's use this as a unique example. You're looking for a job. Who's your audience? Who will pay for your job services, right? As an employee. Figure out who you want to work for. Figure out who's hiring. Figuring out what they're interested in. I mean, get to know who it is you're actually going to be working with. Talk to your audience. Have the conversation with your audience. It still works. If you're looking for a job, talk to your audience. See what they want. It doesn't matter what situation you're in. If you're trying to get value back, think about your audience. Okay? Think about that audience. I think that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, toodles.